People are suffering neuroses because they're not breathing properly. And they're not breathing properly because they're not surrounded by peeps who are breathing properly. So we're feeding into this kind of bad breathing, bad air process, and it's making a lot of people more sick than they really need to be. See? Now this is a very simplistic point of view. When we consider this broad, almost infinite spectrum of suffering that is going on in the world at this time, maybe at all times in the world, most definitely at all times. Yeah. And that's what we need to see, the cosmic picture of what it is. Yeah. It's not just us in our, let's say, losses and gains. It's not the individual in a sense, the particular individual. It's the cosmic. How do you resonate? How do you breathe with the total? How do you breathe with the bigger? See, in the form of the heart is the universe. How and when can your heart be the universe? See? And of course that's an image. We have the ability to sense, because we are that, actually. We are nourished and sustained by the forces of the universe, right this moment. Forces we haven't even perceived yet, or defined yet, or recognized yet, and so on. Finer forces than have ever been seen or understood or imagined are still to be discovered. Because our knowledge, because of our universality, is infinite. So there won't be a cutoff point. It'll be more and more and more and more ad infinitum until it's exhausted, till there's a transcension completely into zeroness, see, which is zero heart space. See? Already gone already. Here and gone. See? It's not a play of words. It's a reality for some people who are more, let's say, evolved into a healthy view of, let's say, paradox. See? It's already gone. It's always here and already gone at the same time. Not a play on words. See? It's not make-believe. Because what's the alternative? You have people who are stuck in confusion, see? In deception, delusion. In the negative paradox, where what they feel is just lopsided, one side. I just am this, I'm suffering. I'm a woman, I'm a man. See? I'm this karma. See? I'm rejected, I'm left out. See? That's all they can see. See? They're fragmented. So we need to sort of like bring out something as a, let's say, society that reinforces what's real and what's true in this case. Primordial nativism. See? We are spirits first. And have to revert back to that under, let's say, the worst of conditions and the best of conditions. See? But we are basically that, always that. And we're in the process of passing, which is rarely brought up. Rarely brought up in these terms. And it's rarely brought up in terms of, well, you're always dying already, right? You're getting ready to go. That's not brought up in the right spirit. Say, oh, well, you're ready to go to school, you're ready to do this, ready to do that. Nobody's talking about what's really next in this case. Everything else is distraction and sort of fill-in, but not really the thing that we're really getting ready to die, all of us, see, every second that we breathe. And that's the truth of impermanence. It's not a preoccupation with the negative, it's understanding the nature of life. So it's primordial native instinct and intuition, fact. So between now and then, which we're not struggling against, we want to make sure that we are optimizing our opportunity in this gap of life, right? It's just a gap, window of life, to make it work for ourselves, bring pleasure and peace to others at the same time. See, instead of what's going on, right? In these precious moments, just destroying one another, which is insanity at the height, at the most extraordinary pitch, insanity. See? So that's why I'm saying it's really more on the level of primordial breathing that we can collect ourselves and get ourselves more or less properly aligned. And in the right company, because it does take the right company. We need leadership. See, everyone needs leadership, needs guidance. You need to know that it's safe to take the next step up. And so we need to know there are people who have taken that next step up, and so that's why the traditions show up the way they show up, yeah, of elders. But that's not limited to religious traditions. That includes every tradition imaginable, occupationally. So it's just the way it is. Yeah. So we need a certain kind of leadership, clearly, that we are in accord with. Of course, I'm basically a musician, but I'm not saying that leadership for me in terms of the field of music. No, so since I don't see any, then it's up to me to assume responsibility then to say, well, to get the best music, I think we need a little bit more spirituality here. See? Mm-hmm. We need a bit more of the superconsciousness to get better music out here. And not just leave it up to a certain type of yogi where musicians are involved in a certain form of yoga. Music is yoga. Music is breathing. Music is meditation. So why be half-baked about it? Yeah, go all the way. Make it the real thing. See, become musical yogis. Get into it. Not just leave it up to the exceptional genius here and there. Who shows up as that? A pure yogi, musician. See? Oh yeah, practice that. Bring both worlds together. So you're breathing, yogis, right? Masters of breath, breathing, relaxing, and then you're artist at the same time. What could be better than that? Right? See, perfect. See, so we have a solution there. When the musicians are, as leaders, right, and maybe as true priests, beyond religious priests, musical priests, see, priests of the sound, are healed in this way, as I have been more or less advocating, see, then we might have a different world here. See? So instead of entertainment, we switch over to entertainment, which is more real and more needed in this time and space than just more entertainment. No, not to put show business down. No, show business is fun. Right? We need show business, but that's not all the business. We need to know business. See? We need to know business. See? We need to knowing business, the business of knowing deeply who we are and what we are, instead of getting lost in entertaining other peeps, right? For applause, rewards, and all of these kinds of things, see, which are not bad. This is all evolutionary steps up. We have to go deeper so that we enter a certain state of, let's say, mastery over our bodies and our feelings and our memories and our, let's say, psychic componentry, so that we have peace and we teach peace. We live peace to other peeps. And I think that's the only reason why you see certain beings out here who are trying to promote this from their own vantage point, who have been exposed to this kind of native practice, and now we're talking about native yogic practice.
As humans, are there limits on how much suffering we can confront and acknowledge?
Well, whatever the limit is in your case is what it is. Well, when you reach the breaking point, I say, good. It's called a breakthrough point. So yeah, indulge yourself so you have a breakthrough. Because sometimes that's the only way out, is to have a breakthrough. Breakdown, you could mean a breakthrough. Sometimes people have to be broken down in order to have a breakthrough. Right? That means an interruption in the cycle. See, the program has to be disrupted. Right? So there is an intervention, finally. Could be divine intervention. So it depends on how you interpret what it is, and when you, from your stupor, are forced to wake up and maybe recover yourself to sanity and do good for yourself and others.
I tie that to a statement by a political person who said something to the effect that one death is a tragedy, 10,000 deaths is a statistic. So I'm wondering just how much capacity we have to absorb massive amounts of suffering now.
Well, we've done it since the time when it all began. We've been doing it. So we are quite capable of it. We're quite capable of generating it, we're quite capable of sustaining it, and enduring it, see, and extending it. See. If we leave it to a certain level of intelligence and consciousness, there's no end to it. See. There's no end to it. And that's why there is intelligence present that is trying to short-circuit some of the darkness that's going on by way of some kind of intelligence, rather than just more violence. See? And it's not necessarily an appeal from reason to reason. It's an appeal from the heart to the heart. That's where it counts. See? Yeah. That's where it counts.
So in terms of, let's say, anti-war efforts, are we better off in the streets or sitting and meditating?
Anti-war efforts?
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything about anti-war efforts. See, you can talk about anti-war efforts, but this has got nothing to do with anti-war or pro-war. See, this is about just native balance, see, healing, self-realization, and being at peace. And working from that is called healing. See? We can say, let healing have its way. And coincidentally, there are enough people on the planet that agree with that. They're not standing up for that because they don't have a reason to stand up for it. So there is a high percentage of people who can support that. At some point, say, and cause their nations to collapse. Let's stop for a moment and take stock in terms of who and what is really in control. And I'm saying this is heart to heart, not just with or without weapons. The weapons reflect the state of consciousness, state of, say, evolution and maybe lack of evolution, depending on the circumstances. We're talking about the inner reality. The heart nature is beyond that. It's beyond time. And the circumstances that we see relative to warfare in this time is relative to the times, which will change. The whole level of warfare, the whole level of, let's say, conflict will morph. More into, I suppose they're predicting, more digital levels. And so that's fine on one level, but we're talking about the heart. In the meantime, the heart is being ignored. As the scientific search for ultimate control, and power, which is heartless in nature. It's just power for power's sake, domination for domination's sake, right? Which is what scientific, let's say, genius is about. Mechanical, completely, totally, radically so. The heart is different for us. We need to, as long as we have living beings, then we have a possibility for that. But once it gets out of the hands of the living, so that the living, or in other words, the living makes the robotics superior, then it's lost cause here. Then we have to wait until another epoch occurs, evolutionary cycle occurs, where humans and the living have hearts and a breathing. Because the humans have become rocks. Becomes rock to rock.